In October 2024, a Brazilian seer claimed to have received a striking message from the child Jesus, stating, "In 2025, the whole truth in the Church and the world will be revealed." This declaration not only sparks intrigue, but raises important questions. What exactly is being hidden from the public? And why is this revelation set for such a specific time? The answers, as the seer explained to Mariologist Luca Gelasio, point to concealed matters both within the Church and across the globe. If you enjoy content that helps you grow spiritually, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and join our community for more inspiration. Let's get started. She described the message as a call to unveil truths that have been obscured for decades, ranging from ecclesiastical infiltration to societal manipulations. If such revelations come to pass, they could potentially shake the very foundations of faith and global trust. This prophetic statement gains even more weight when linked to historical instances of church corruption. For example, the seer's words echo investigations by figures like Father Charles Moore, whose groundbreaking discoveries exposed significant infiltration of Masonic ideologies within the Vatican's hierarchy. Moore's revelations were partly detailed in his book Murder at the 33rd Degree, and highlighted a systematic effort to undermine traditional church values through strategic placements within its leadership. The Brazilian seer's message ties directly to the long-standing issue of infiltration, a concern that first surfaced prominently during the pontificate of Pope Paul VI. Archbishop Edward Gagnon, assisted by Father Moore, meticulously documented evidence of this infiltration, producing a detailed report that Pope Paul VI, near the end of his life, refused to address. The Pope reportedly stated, "I am old and sick. This will be for my successor to handle." Tragically, his successor, Pope John Paul I, known for his integrity, was unable to act. His pontificate lasted a mere 33 days before his mysterious death. The timing of the child Jesus' revelation hints at a divine intervention to expose long-concealed truths. The seer emphasized that this isn't just about the Church, but also involves global matters, hinting at a broader scope of corruption and manipulation. As the world anticipates 2025, the weight of these potential disclosures looms large, promising a profound impact on faith, institutions, and society. Underneath the grandeur of St. Peter's Basilica lies a hidden narrative, meticulously pieced together by Father Charles Moore during his tenure in Rome. Tasked with assisting Archbishop Edward Gagnon in the 1970s, Moore unearthed a web of clandestine operations aimed at dismantling the Church from within. These efforts, veiled under layers of bureaucracy, were not isolated acts, but part of an organized infiltration driven by external ideologies that sought to reshape the Church's essence. The revelations unearthed by Father Charles Moore unveil a chilling reality, in which forces that are against the Church have become a part of its very structure, threatening to distort its mission and values. These stories of the past echo through the present, reminding us of the stakes involved in uncovering the truth and defending what is sacred. Moments like these challenge us to question everything we know about faith, power, and the hidden forces shaping our world. If you're searching for clarity and strength in the face of such overwhelming truths, there's a way forward. This is exactly what The Secret of Jesus' Apparitions offers, a path to clarity and peace through his revelations. This ebook goes into his prophecies and offers insight into what lies ahead. It's available for free in the pinned comment. Grab it now before the edition's gone. His investigations revealed a disturbing pattern of appointments within the Vatican hierarchy. Influential figures, including Cardinal Sebastiano Baggio, held significant sway, appointing bishops sympathetic to external agendas. These appointments, totaling nearly 80% of the episcopal leadership of the time, strategically aligned the Church's direction with modernist and often Masonic ideals, undermining its traditional teachings. One of More's most unsettling discoveries revolved around the mysterious circumstances surrounding the death of Pope John Paul I. Documents and testimonies collected during his inquiry suggested deliberate obstruction of reform efforts aimed at addressing corruption. A gap was created when the Pope abruptly resigned after just 33 days in office, allowing long-established networks to endure. Witnesses described heated confrontations between the Pope and figures like Baggio, whose defiance symbolized the depths of resistance to transparency and change. Adding to the complexity, More's findings touched upon financial irregularities tied to the Vatican Bank. Funds allocated for charitable missions were siphoned off into ventures that contradicted the Church's ethical stance, including investments in morally questionable industries. This financial manipulation revealed an intricate system of cover-ups designed to protect those within power while tarnishing the Church's reputation globally. His accounts, partially documented in his book, only scratch the surface of a much larger crisis. Despite resistance, he continued to collect evidence, meticulously detailing connections that pointed to a coordinated effort extending beyond the Church itself. This infiltration not only targeted its hierarchy, but also sought to weaken the spiritual foundation upon which it stood, leaving a legacy of internal conflict and mistrust. Through his lens, the Vatican's gilded halls became a backdrop for a battle not only of faith, but of truth, integrity, and the survival of an institution grappling with forces determined to shape its destiny. The election of Albino Luciani as Pope John Paul I marked a turning point in Vatican history, though it would be tragically brief. Known for his humility and sharp intellect, Luciani entered the papacy with a clear vision: to confront the corruption deeply embedded within the Church. However, his tenure of only 33 days left behind more questions than answers, particularly regarding the power struggles that defined his short reign. Our free ebook is available now, but copies are running out quickly. Find the link in the first comment and claim yours today. Among his most decisive actions was a private meeting with Cardinal Sebastiano Baggio, a figure central to the appointment of bishops who were often sympathetic to external influences. Baggio's role in shaping the Church's leadership had long been criticized by insiders who viewed his network as a mechanism to advance ideologies contrary to traditional Catholic values. Pope John Paul I, aware of these allegations, summoned Baggio to his quarters, proposing his reassignment to a less influential role. What began as a discussion quickly escalated into a heated exchange, with Baggio reportedly shouting, "You have no authority here." The confrontation, overheard by Swiss guards, would later become one of the most cited moments leading up to the Pope's sudden death. That evening, the Vatican seemed shrouded in an uneasy stillness. Witnesses recalled seeing Baggio leaving the papal chambers in visible frustration, while the Pope appeared pale and visibly shaken. Hours later, John Paul I was found lifeless in his room. Official reports attributed his death to a heart attack, yet speculation about foul play circulated almost immediately. Vatican insiders whispered about an atmosphere of intense pressure and fear, hinting at deliberate attempts to silence the Pope before his reforms could take root. Beyond the political intrigue, the late Pope had also begun delving into the Vatican's financial dealings. Documents discovered posthumously revealed his intention to investigate the murky transactions of the Vatican Bank, including suspicious ties to organizations implicated in money laundering and illicit trade. His efforts to scrutinize these operations were perceived as a direct threat to powerful individuals who had benefited from decades of unchecked influence. May 13, 1981, marked a pivotal moment in modern Vatican history when Pope John Paul II was shot in St. Peter's Square by Mehmet Ali Agca. The attack, executed with precision in front of thousands, left the world stunned. As the Pope lay bleeding, whispers began to circulate within the Vatican about the origin of the order. While Agca was quickly apprehended, his motives remained murky, and his statements hinted at something far more insidious than a lone actor. Investigations into the attack unveiled a troubling connection to factions within the Vatican itself. According to intercepted communications reviewed by international agencies, including Interpol, the final order to assassinate the Pope reportedly came from a high-ranking member of the Roman Curia. The revelation shocked those closest to John Paul II, as it suggested a deep betrayal from within the very walls of the Holy See. These findings corroborated suspicions that the Pope's earlier attempts to challenge entrenched corruption had made him a target. The aftermath of the attack further highlighted the internal rot. During emergency surgery at the Vatican's own hospital, the Pope received a contaminated blood transfusion, leading to hepatitis that would weaken him for the rest of his life. Subsequent investigations raised alarming questions about whether this medical failure was accidental or another calculated move by those seeking to destabilize his authority. Unraveling these hidden truths invites reflection and insight. Don't miss the chance to learn more. Our special ebook is still free, but only while stocks last. Despite his weakened state, John Paul II resumed his mission to address the Vatican's corruption. His efforts began with a thorough re-evaluation of key appointments, particularly those tied to the Secretariat of State. The Pope summoned Archbishop Edward Gagnon, a trusted ally from earlier investigations, to compile updated dossiers on suspected collaborators within the Church's hierarchy. These reports identified numerous connections between influential clergy members and external ideologies, including Masonic lodges and political movements. The internal resistance faced by John Paul II was immense. High-ranking officials actively obstructed his reforms, employing tactics that ranged from bureaucratic delays to public dissent. Among his adversaries was Cardinal Agostino Casaroli, whose diplomatic ties to the Soviet Union and advocacy for appeasement policies ran counter to the Pope's firm anti-communist stance. As he led a church severely fractured along ideological and loyalist lines, the Pope's delicate situation was highlighted by the friction between these groups. As John Paul II persisted in his mission, the shadow of betrayal lingered. The attack had not silenced him, but it had revealed the extent to which his enemies would go to maintain their grip on the Vatican's power structures. As he pressed forward with his efforts to cleanse the Vatican, the financial dealings of the Holy See emerged as a battleground of controversy. The Vatican Bank, formerly known as the Institute for the Works of Religion, IOR, became a focal point of scrutiny after multiple scandals linked its operations to money laundering and misappropriation of church funds. Beneath its pious exterior lay a network of transactions that blurred the lines between sacred duty and secular greed. One of the most egregious cases involved the Banco Ambrosiano, a private Italian bank with close ties to the Vatican Bank. Funds ostensibly allocated for charitable works were found to have been funneled into questionable investments, including enterprises that starkly contradicted Catholic teaching. Among the most shocking discoveries was the Vatican's financial stake in a corporation producing contraceptives, a revelation that outraged traditionalists and exposed the hypocrisy of some within the Church's hierarchy. The fallout from these financial irregularities was amplified by the mysterious death of Roberto Calvi, the Banco Ambrosiano chairman, often referred to as God's banker. Found hanging under London's Blackfriars Bridge in 1982, his death was initially ruled a suicide, but later reclassified as murder. Evidence linked his demise to a web of illicit dealings that implicated members of the Vatican Bank, along with shadowy figures in the Masonic lodge Propaganda Due, P2. This secretive group wielded influence in politics, finance, and the church, weaving a network of power that transcended national boundaries. John Paul II, though physically weakened from the 1981 assassination attempt, launched a quiet yet determined effort to address these financial scandals. He authorized independent audits of the IOR, a move resisted by many within the Vatican. The investigations revealed not only the misallocation of funds, but also the extent to which key individuals had exploited their positions for personal gain. Among them was Cardinal Paul Marcinkus, the IOR's president, whose involvement in the Banco Ambrosiano collapse cast a long shadow over the Church's financial integrity. Despite encountering fierce resistance, John Paul II's resolve did not waver. His inquiries extended beyond the Vatican Bank, uncovering links between financial misconduct and broader efforts to undermine the Church's moral authority. These revelations painted a picture of an institution ensnared in a web of corruption, struggling to uphold its spiritual mission amid the machinations of those who prioritized power over piety. These revelations challenge us to seek clarity in complexity. A few copies of our free e-books remain. Your opportunity to uncover more is just a click away. The significance of 2025 as a time of great revelation hangs in the balance, hovering over the message conveyed by the child Jesus. The prophecy spoken through the Brazilian seer paints a picture of truth piercing through decades of secrecy, shaking not only the foundations of the Church, but also the broader world. What lies hidden, and what implications will the unveiling of such truths have on the faithful and the skeptical alike? The connection between this divine message and the Church's current state of turmoil becomes increasingly evident. The infiltration described in various accounts, including those of Father Moore, highlights decades of corruption and manipulation that have seeped into the heart of the Church. If the prophecy holds, 2025 may mark the dawn of a purification process, a divine intervention to restore spiritual integrity. Such a revelation would likely expose the lingering influence of Masonic ideologies, political agendas, and financial misconduct that have tarnished the Church's reputation. Beyond the Vatican walls, the prophecy suggests that truths concealed on a global scale will also come to light. This may involve revelations about societal structures, political corruption, and the systems of power that have dictated the course of history. The intertwining of church and global affairs means that these truths could resonate far beyond religious circles, potentially altering the moral and ethical compass of societies worldwide. If this message makes you think and you feel it connects with you, don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. Also, if you really want to support our work and help us keep creating valuable content, consider giving us a super thanks. Join this amazing community and don't miss any news. The faithful, meanwhile, are faced with a challenge: to prepare their hearts for the shockwaves that such a revelation might bring. History has shown that moments of divine truth are rarely comfortable. They demand reflection, repentance, and ultimately, transformation. For the Church, the anticipated exposure of corruption and betrayal could serve as a catalyst for renewal, dismantling structures that prioritize power over faith and reinstating a leadership grounded in humility and service. This prophecy, if fulfilled, is not just about uncovering sins, but also about hope, a chance for restoration and redemption. The seer's message invites believers to look beyond the immediate turmoil and trust in a higher plan orchestrated by the divine. It beckons the church and the world alike to confront their flaws, embrace transparency, and step into a future guided by spiritual truth, no matter how uncomfortable that path might seem.